suffering for suffering, sorrow for sorrow. For it's important that God have a people in this world. That He set apart Abraham and his descendants, and you know they were told the story. A people set apart for God's people. To make a people for Him, and to grow it strong. And this is their vision. Here come the voice, like a moth to the flame, right into his hands and his danger. Joseph faced a series of practical jokes. That's how I always took them growing up. A series of honorary things to really get to his brothers. But I think in the end, he's on a quest to find his brothers, of who they are, what's in their heart, and is there the vision for God's vision in their lives? Is there a purpose beyond just their own gratification? And it's just like Joseph, it says in verse 7 there, that Joseph recognized them, but his brothers did not. And so he calls them spies. I'm going to deal with you just according to that. And of course they deny it, but what do you say? How do you prove you're not something? Have you thought about that? It's logically impossible, did you know, to prove something that's not. It's a logical contradiction. But there's the problem. What do? How do they prove their innocence? That they're not going to do something that's wrong. But they replied to him, very revealingly, 42:13. But they replied, your servants were 12 brothers, sons of one man, who lived in Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more. Isn't that a sweet little euphemism? One is no more. Doesn't say he's dead. Doesn't say he got killed. Doesn't say certainly we did it to him. He's just no more. And I wonder how that felt when Joseph heard it. What it set him back. There are two important facts. There's one father, one with the father, and one that's no more. The youngest is home with dad. He's home with Jacob, who's unwilling to risk him. He'll send us out on whatever dangerous mission to go wherever we need to go out in the storms and in the heat and in the cold and take care of the animal and make sure that the family fortunes are good. That little one, that favorite one, he's sitting home, safe and dry, right in Father's presence, right where every one of them wanted to be, their Father's eye. Each one of them is desperately trying to find his place by who he is and what he does. Barney works, but he produces the beautiful, gracious, hot chick, Leah, the baby maker. That's her place. Each one is vying for that special place. They're clashing over that status. And all the brothers do is work, risk. So the family's in turmoil. And at the key of it, the center of it, is this idea, this one is with dad. Joseph found the soft spot that he was looking for. The place where he could get at them where they really lived. So he put them in jail, and they brought him out on the third day and said to them, do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go back and take grain back for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, that you may not die. This they proceeded to do. And the brothers interpreted, surely we're being punished because what we did, because our brother who is dead now. Reuben said it himself, didn't I tell you so, that we shouldn't harm him? And it says then that Joseph turned away and wept. Then he had Simeon taken, one of the brothers taken, and put in jail, and the others were sent off with their packs to go home. I wonder if Joseph is holding his breath to see what they do. Because this is a perfect opportunity for them to do what they usually do. One of them holding the bag. Let him suffer back there, and they're off scot-free. I wonder if he thought that could happen. But the inevitable came. They went back home. They took the grain that was consumed before you know it, just like all things are. And so Jacob says to them at the end, go back to Egypt and get us some more food. And the brothers say, no way. if we go back there, we have to take Benjamin with us. And of course, Jacob said, no, 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 it can't happen. That's not going to happen. But still, they were hungry and hungrier and harder to live with. And finally, Judah says, look, I'll guarantee you safety. Send him with me. If I lose him, I will bear the shame and the guilt for it all of my life. But let us go so that we won't starve. So finally, Jacob had to do it. So Jacob had his test as well. So really, this one family, this one child is so important to you or for God's people. And so the brothers returned. They came back to Egypt. Simeon returned to them. They were elaborately entertained. But there's one final test. One final test, and as they are sold more grain into Benjamin's pack goes the silver cup that belonged to Pharaoh's head men. We know it was Joseph. The brothers were sent off just far enough away to make a good posse chase. Joseph sends his soldiers to chase them down. Accuses them of stealing the cup. They deny it completely and say the one that if one's found with it, let him die. Of course, it's Benjamin who has it, and they know they're caught. That this one, his life is to be given up. Or what will they do? How can they return? How can they face their father? How will this ever work out? So Judah, who took the oath to protect Benjamin, says this, your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. It's as if Judah isn't his son at all. See how it comes out in every word? You know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and one of them went away from me, and I said, he has surely been torn to pieces, and I've not seen him since. But if you take this one from me, too, if harm comes to him, you will bring me down, my great head down to the grave. Judah continues, now then, please let your servant remain here in my lord's slave, in place of the boy. And let the boy return to his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No. Do not let me see the misery that will come on my father. And here it is, Jacob who had caused it all, because he set the pattern for his family and the way he treated his sibling and father, the way he treated his wives, and therefore his children. He made this pattern for him. His selfishness, his self-centered, his anger has caused all this problem with sister, his wives hating sister, their children hating one another, even in their own families. There's a murderous rage that's gone down with them. And in the middle of all this, thing that Dad brought on, Judah says, tell you what, let me take up the slack of this, if you will. Let me cover this over. I'll give up my life with the boys. But it's enough. It's enough of her. It's enough of the sorrow. It's enough of the anger. It's time to get past it. I wonder if he thought back to the guilt he had of sending his own brother away to certain death. He came face to face with his own guilt. He made his own sins. He condemned himself to slavery forever. And he got for it. You see, God wants us to be reconciled with one another and with Him. But until we come face to face with who we are, what we've done, and what we are really like on the inside, it doesn't work very well. If we are convinced, you and I are convinced that we're pretty good people, we do both things right, we got some problems, but mostly we're okay, and that's good enough, we will never be reconciled. First of all, with Christ who died in our place, and secondly, with one another. We will never have peace, rest, and warmth in Him. And it's key for us to face it the same way that Judah and his brothers had. Face to face. Know that somebody else made a sacrifice in our place so that we can have peace. We are fearful of admitting wrong, of guilt, of saying that we deserve punishment. We are afraid to say it because we're afraid to suffer. Suffering is not what we think. Listen to what Joseph told his brothers after they admitted their guilt. They found out who he is and what he can do to them. But he says this to them: God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh and lord of his entire household and ruler of all Egypt. See, God has made the way. It's not that one person gets something on another, that we admit our guilt and are put down and put in a low place by another. We are able to receive that gift only when we open our heart. And so God is working to make a way for us to get past our sorrows, the hurts that have been done to us, to the destruction that's happened into our lives and in our families, to get past the anger that we suffer with and our families suffer with, and the fear of what will happen to somebody you happen to know. He's come to bring us in His presence, to part of Him. It's called trusting on God's grace and on His love, and receiving His purpose, to become a part of what He is, to be a part of His kingdom, and hear His kind voice say, "Come to me, all you who are heavy laden, I'll give you rest." But we must take the steps, just as the brothers did. Not to deny ourselves faults in our sins, but to know that God has made a way. These things that happen to us, really, if we come to Christ, they just really let us know who Christ is to us. That He's loved us in spite of our sin. It's not that we're good enough that we earned our way, but He's loved us anyway. He gives us life and peace. We live like Jacob did. One step ahead of our own guilt. One step away from realizing our own faults and emptiness and foolishness. One step away from the death that will bring all of our efforts to an end. That's it. The hound of heaven. Bring that whole hound of heaven. It's as if God's pursuing us day after day. Just waiting for that moment. And He'll say, "Okay, let's go your way, not mine." He asks us to receive that gift. Yes, you and I. All right, invitation is 287. I love to tell the story. I'll say the first and the third. And that story is just the story I've been telling you, that Christ loves us, and that in spite of our sins, our failures, and our faults, He wants us so much that He made a way through His own life for us to get peace with God, to be reconciled to Him, and then being reconciled to Him, being reconciled to one another. Let's open our hearts to that blessing. If you hear the Lord calling,